Morning friends, today we are going to talk about the anatomy of forearm. Forearm is basically the part of the upper limb as we already know. In this particular lecture, we are going to talk about the vasculature, nervous supply, the muscular arrangement of the forearm, then various other tendons and anatomical snug box, which we are going to talk in this particular lecture. So, as we all know that forearm is the connecting link between the wrist and palm with the uh, arm. But maximum of the muscles which are going to work here or which are present here are actually coming proximally to at the elbow point only, basically from the medial epicondyle or lateral epicondyle as we know. And this forearm is actually a subway-like of system which is giving a pathway to the muscles from that particular region of humerus to towards the finger side or towards the phalanges. So the shoulder joints mobility facilitates the large-scale gross movement for positioning of hand. The elbow joint structures and articulates and facilitate the smaller movements for the positioning of the hand. And continuing downside when we reach to the forearm and the wrist, and the structures and articulation here allow the smallest and finest movement of the position is how to move these fingers, how to grab anything, how to move the thumb, how to put the finger. These all things are actually controlled by the this part which we are going to deal with today. So first of all, the bones of the forearm basically it consists of radius and ulna as you can see, and they are stabilized by the interosseous membrane. This is interosseous membrane. Interosseous means in between the bones. So in between the bones, this is the interosseous membrane is present. Then on the upper side, if you see, there is a elbow joint and there is humerus. There is lateral epicondyle, which is the common extensor origin for the muscles of posterior forearm. If you divide the forearm on the two parts, anterior and posterior, it can be for posterior, the origins of all the basically all the muscles of will be coming from the lateral epicondyle, which are actually extensors. And from the medial epicondyle, it is called as common flexor origin for the muscles of anterior forearm of flexor compartment and lateral epicondyle for extensor compartment. So forearm can muscles, basically group of muscles can be divided into two parts, anterior or flexor, posterior and extensor. So anterior one, as you can see, this is a group of muscles which is on the anterior side, which is going to be the flexors. The anterior flexor compartment is majorly attached to the medial epicondyle of the humerus, also called as common flexor attachment. These muscles, as the name suggests, do the flexion or pronation. If we see on the posterior side, it will called posterior extensor compartment, mainly attached to the lateral epicondyle of humerus, called as common extensor point, and these muscles work to extend or supinate. So these are the basic two divisions of our group of muscles present in forearm. If we talk about the innervation, so basically there are three nerves: radial nerve, which innervates the posterior compartment; median nerve, which innervates the anterior compartment; and there is ulnar nerve, which innervates basically one or two muscles of the anterior compartment region, actually which are depending on the little finger side or ulnar side. They will be given by nerve will be innervated by the ulnar nerve. If we see about the arterial supply, so the subclavian artery, which we know will be continuous as the axillary artery, and crossing teres major, it will be continuous as the brachial artery. And brachial artery at the elbow is divided into two parts: radial artery and ulnar artery, which give supply with the different branches to their particular parts. Coming to the venous drainage, the radial vein and ulnar vein, you can see radial vein, ulnar vein, they will combine to form brachial vein, axillary vein, and ultimately they will into the subclavian vein. In the talking to the superficial sense, we will talk in the sense of deeper part. So radial vein, ulnar vein, then there is a basic very important thing at the level of elbow, that is medial cubital vein, which are connecting between the cephalic vein and basilic vein. Then ultimately it has to drain into same thing, brachial vein, axillary vein, and subclavian vein only. The basic pattern is similar only. Now coming towards the overview of anterior compartment. So there is a common attachment as already told, that is medial epicondyle. Innervation will be done by the median nerve mostly. Exceptional is the 1.5 muscles of the given by the ulnar nerve. Action as already said, these muscles of this compartment generally work to flex or pronate, and there are sublayers which can be divided into deep three muscles, intermediate one muscles, and superficial four muscles. So you can see superficial is outermost, then intermediate in between, and then the deepest. So like this, we can understand the division of the sub-layering of the muscles of anterior compartment. Now one by one, if you see deep muscles, intermediate muscle, and superficial. So you can see here, first of all, they are talking about the deep muscles. The deep muscles is its three muscles which you can see. It is pronatus quadratus. Then you can sorry. Then there is one long muscle which is directly going to the tip of the fingers. It is flexor profundus, digitorum profundus, and this is the special one which is going towards the thumb side. You can say this is pollicis. Then intermediate side, only one muscle as already told. This whole one is the one muscle. It is flexor digitorum superficialis. Name is superficial, but it is present in the intermediate compartment. In some books, it is considered to be the superficial muscle only, but in some books, it is said to be in the compartment of intermediate group. And then comes the most superficial one. You can see directly coming from the common flexor point, and these are the name frontal teres. As you can see, this is small. Then you can see this is the flexor teres longus. Then the pollicis palmaris longus. Then the ulnaris. So this is the total arrangement of the muscle sublayers which are present in the deep, intermediate, and superficial compartment of the anterior compartment of the forearm. Now superficial, you can see one by one now. Pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis. Pronator teres is very uh, just like a triangular type of things, or it's diagonal type of thing, you can say, originating from the medial epicondyle of the humerus and coronoid process of ulna. Insertion will be on the lateral radius, median nerve, and action will be pronation only. You can see in the dissected model how the pronator teres is going to be present. Next one is flexor carpi ulnaris. So for this portion also you can see simply that it is also going to originate from the medial epicondyle of humerus, but it will be the longer one. It will go to the base of the second or third metacarpal. Innervation is same median nerve. It will be wrist flexion or radial deviation or wrist adduction, whatever. And this is the arrangement or presence of the flexor carpi radialis. The second one in the superficial. Third one is palmaris longus. As the name says, is the long one and goes to the palmar region. This one you can see directly going towards the palm. Again, coming from the common origin, palmar aponeurosis, it is going to be inserted on the common aponeurosis. Median nerve, the wrist flexion and tensor palmar aponeurosis is going to form. This is, and here a specific thing is there, the belly is very small, the tendon is very long. Remember it like this, belly is small, tendon is long. So you can simply remember palmaris longest muscle. Then comes the flexor carpi ulnaris. As the name suggests, it will be towards the little finger side. Again, the origin will be same, but it has one more origin from the olecranon of ulna. It is going to be inserted on the fifth metacarpal, pisiform, and hook of hamate. Nerve supply. Now remember, there were 1.5 muscles which were supplied by ulnar nerve. So here it is one ulnar nerve. Action will be same, wrist flexion and ulnar deviation. So these are the four muscles which are present in the superficial compartment. Then comes the intermediate compartment. Intermediate compartment is having only one muscle, as you can see, but it's a bigger one, and the tendons are going to the each of the fingers. So flexor digitorum profundus has first of all origin from the medial epicondyle of humerus, coronoid process of ulna, and upper half of anterior radius. Insertion will be from second to fifth middle phalanges. You can see second to fifth till middle phalanges will have. It will be helping in doing these type of movements. Nerve supplies median nerve, flexion of second to fifth digits, and wrist flexion will be also its own function. So you can see the shape of this particular muscle, which is very important. Then comes the deep compartment or deep group of muscles. There will be three. First is flexor digitorum profundus. Again, you can see this is a big one, and the tendons are going to the tip of the fingers or just below to the nails, you can say it simply. So it will have origin from proximal 3/4 of the anterior ulna. Insertion will be on 2 to 5th distal phalanges. Innervation, now see the other half of ulnar nerve will come here. First of all, it will be median nerve of second and third digit, and fourth and fifth digit it will be ulnar nerve, and the action will be same flexion of second to fifth digit. So this is the powerful muscle which is going to help you in the flexion of the fingers. Then comes the flexor pollicis longus. It is again the muscle of the deep compartment. Origin will be for anterior radius. Insertion will be on phalanx, that is thumb, distal phalanx of the thumb. Median nerve and flexion of the thumb will be its axle. So this is the flexor pollicis longus, and the last one is pronator quadratus. It is a small, just rectangular like of muscle, and you can see it here. Origin will be distal 1/4 of the anterior ulna. Insertion will be on the anterior radius. Nerve will be median nerve and action will be pronation. So supination and pronation actually are going to be done by pronator teres and this pronator quadratus only. So this is the in detail about the muscles of the anterior compartment of forearm. Next comes the overview of posterior compartment. So common attachment, as already showed, it will be the lateral epicondyle. Nerve supply will be the radial nerve. Action will be the extension or supination. And there are sublayers. There are two. This group is divided into three parts. Deep, two muscles, and superficial, six muscles. Outcropping will be three muscles. We'll talk in detail in next slide. So the posterior compartment muscles are divided into two sublayers. Deep will be two. Outcropping will be three muscles, as you can see. Brachioradialis is not physically the part of posterior compartment, but it is explained here only. So if you see one by one, so these will be the deeper ones, then the outcropping one, then the superficial one, and in next slide there will be detail of all the things. So despite its function as the flexor of elbow, like especially for brachioradialis we are talking, flexor of the elbow joint brachioradialis is grouped with the superficial part of posterior, means this particular muscles is actually present on the lateral side. Okay, and functionally it is a flexor only, but due to arrangement it is basically present or understood in the superficial layer of posterior muscle compartment. The flexors are typically considered part of anterior compartment. The radial nerve typically only innervates extensor, and brachioradialis is an exception to both of these generalizations. So always remember, exceptions are always good questions. So brachioradialis, first of all, the proximal part of lateral supra-epicondylar ridge of humerus. It's a straight line of just a muscle. Insertion will be on same side, lateral surface of radius only, innervated by radial nerve, and action will be accessory flexor of the elbow in pronation. Next. Next, we will talk about the grouping. The superficial, we are going to get six muscles one by one. Extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum, extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor digiti minimi, and anconeus. So if you see one by one, in certain books you will find that brachioradialis is also included in these groupings only. So extensor carpi radialis longus, name suggests it will be the longer one. Lateral supracondylar epicondylar ridge of the humerus, base of the second metacarpal. Radial nerve will be the innervation and action will be wrist extension. You can see this particular green color muscle is extensor carpi radialis longus. If you go through the names properly, many things you are going to get. Extensor means they are in the extensor compartment. Carpi means they will cross the carpus or get attached to the carpus only. And then they are longest, so it will be longer one, brevis, so it will be shorter one, and radialis will be on radial side. The lateral epicondyle of humerus, the common origin, insertion will be on the base of third metacarpal. Nerve supply is radial nerve. Action will be same, wrist extension or deviation. Then comes the extensor digitorum. Whenever term digitorum comes, it means it will go to the digit directly. So there will be many tendons which will go on the digit on extensor side here also, like we have seen in the anterior compartment. Origin will be lateral epicondyle of humerus. Eh, Insertion will be extensor expansion of second to fifth digit. So all second to fifth digit it will be present. The radial nerve action will be extension and abduction of second to fifth digits. Abduction means coming together. Then come extensor carpi ulnaris. As the name suggests, ulnaris means it will be towards the little finger side. You can see it is crossing the line. Lateral epicondyle of humerus and posterior ulna will be the origin point. Insertion will be on the fifth metacarpal, which will be present on this particular side of little finger. Nerve supply will be same radial nerve as per the group, and the action will be also same wrist extension. Then comes the extensor digiti minimi. As the name means, digiti minimi means the smallest finger. So lateral epicondyle of humerus origin, again it will cross and go to the extensor expansion of fifth digit, radial nerve, extension and abduction of fifth digit will be its action. You can see this is the muscle, the green color muscle, which is going towards downside is the extensor digiti minimi. Last one is enconius. Enconius is a special arrangement, so you can see it here. This small one, very small one, and it is also going to be originated from the lateral epicondyle of humerus. Insertion will be auricular and posterior proximal surface of ulna. Nerve supply will be the radial nerve, and the action will be abduction of ulna in pronation. So it will be helping in pronation in the movement of ulna. So this was all the superficial group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if you include the brachioradialis also, then one more extra. Now coming to a deeper thigh, deeper compartment is same posterior part of the forearm. So there you can find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. Okay. So basically there are two extensor indices, supinator, and then three are outcropping type of abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis. So again, if you pay attention to the names, many things you are going to get. A extensor indices means it will go to the index finger like this. So the origin here will be different. It will not common origin point. It will be the digital one third of the posterior ulna. Insertion will be of the extensor of the second digit. Nerve supply will be same radial nerve, and it will be especially to the extension of second digit. So this is about the extensor indices. Then comes the supinator. You can see the supinator. This one present on the upper side. As the name suggests, it will help in the supination only. Origin will be lateral epicondyle of humerus, crest of ulna, insertion will be proximal shaft of the radial nerve, and the action will be supination. As the name suggests, supination. This green color small muscle is supinator. Next comes the outcropping one, abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis longus, and extensor pollicis brevis. The first, adductor pollicis longus, posterior and radial of the radius and ulna. Insertion will be base of the first metacarpal. Nerve supply will be same. Action will be abduction of thumb. As the name suggests, abductor, it will be abduction of the nerve. This is a outcropping type of muscle. Next one is extensor pollicis longus. You can see this is extensor pollicis longus. Again, pollicis longus means towards the thumb side. Medial one third of posterior ulna will be its origin. Insertion will be on the base of distal phalanx of thumb. Innervation will be radial nerve. Extension of thumb will be the its action. Extensor pollicis longus. Then comes the last one, extensor pollicis brevis. As the name suggests, brevis means small. More or less action will be same, and both together will do a powerful action. The medial one third of the posterior radius is the origin. Insertion will be on the base of proximal pharynx of the thumb. Innervation will be same radial nerve, and action will be same extension of thumb as the previous. So while you going towards the muscle name, simply understand first of all what the name is saying, then it will be easy for you to know origin and insertion. Now what does outcropping muscles says? Outcropping muscles take part of their attachment from the interosseous membrane and make an anatomical snug box at the base of the thumb where scaphoid fractures can be palpated. So these outcropping muscles, what we have seen last three, adductor processus longus, extensor processus longus, and extensor processus brevis, they are going to get their attachment from the interosseous membrane, and then they are going to make a anatomical snub box at the base of thumb. At the base of thumb, you are going to get an anatomical snub box, and which will be formed by this particular group of outcropping muscles. So the forearm, again, you can see it divided into two parts: posterior compartment, anterior compartment. Anterior compartment, basically, we are now going to talk about functions. It will be flex at wrist and elbow and pronate at elbow. Posterior compartment extend at wrist and elbow and supinate at elbow. So the posterior compartment can also be organized functionally into three parts at the level of wrist joint, extend, abduct, and adduct with the help of extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor carpi ulnaris. Digits except the thumb, they are going to do extension with the help of extensor digitorum, extensor indicis, extensor digiti minimi. And thumb will be doing extension and abduction with the help of abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis. So if you understand the name wherever the digits is there and they are of posterior compartment, so they are going to do extension. If pollicis is there, so they are basically for thumb region. If they are coming from the longer version like extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi, so they will do the extension of the wrist joint also and abduction and adduction, all three functions. So this was the functional grouping. Now one by one we can see the movements of forearm muscles. At the wrist, elbow, they produce the movement in all these regions. So first at elbow, supination and pronation, like this you can see. Again you can see supination, pronation. This is at the elbow. Now at the wrist, if you want to see flexion and extension, like this, flexion, extension. Next, you can see radial and ulnar deviation again at wrist. Radial deviation, ulnar deviation at the wrist. Next, you can see at the fingers, flexion and extensions. At the fingers, you can see like this, flexion and extension at the fingers. Next, at the thumb, you can see abduction, adduction. Adduction means coming together, abduction means going far. This is flexion towards your little finger, extension again being in the normal position. And this is opposition touching your the tip of the little finger and then coming back it is reposition. So these are the 6 movements which are possible at the thumb. This video is very helpful to understand the movements, especially at each point. Now supination and pronation, how they are going to do. The muscles of supinations are supinator first of all. Okay, so supinator, as we have already seen supinator in the deeper compartment, we have talked about it. Okay, then muscles of pronation are pronator teres and pronator quadratus. Pronator teres, pronator quadratus. The bicep brachii in arm also helps in the supination. Remember like this. So basically these are one for the supination, two for the pronation. And for supination, the bicep brachii also helps in somewhat, but it is not in the group of forearm. For wrist flexion, there is flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, and flexor carpi ulnaris. This is flexor carpi radialis. Flexor palmaris longus in green and flexor carpi ulnaris here, this side. And they are going to do the help in wrist flexion. Next, wrist extension. The name extensor will be added here. Extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor carpi ulnaris. So these three muscles will help in wrist extension. Next, for muscle for ulnar deviation also can be called adduction. तो जहाँ भी ulnaris होगा, like flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor carpi, extensor carpi ulnaris. So these are going to do ulnar deviation. For radial deviation, there is flexor carpi radialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis. So these three will be for the radial deviation. So you can see ulnaris term will be both the places. So ulnar deviation, radialis will be there for radial deviation. For flexion of fingers, there are digitorum one, like flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus. You can remember they are coming from the anterior compartment only. Next, for flexion of fingers, FDS, FDP attachment, when the attaching of middle phalanx, the flexor digitorum superciliar tendon creates a tunnel-like thing. For flexor digitorum profundus, the tendon to travel through before attaching to the distal phalanx. You can see this tunnel. This tunnel they are talking. Flexor digitorum superficialis is creating tunnel for flexor digitorum profundus to go and get attached on the upper part. So for this, we can do the testing of FDS and FDS. We can go for clinical one. The FDS and FDP are tested individually due to their differentiating attachment along the fence. So like this, you can test the flexor digitorum superficialis, and coming back will be the testing of flexor digitorum profundus. Like this, just a tip of finger is going to get flexion. For flexor extensor of fingers, that is extensor digitorum, extensor digiti minimi, extensor index. Digitorum is for second to fifth finger, and this is especially for index finger, and digiti minimi for fifth finger or smaller finger. For the thumb movement, flexor pulses longer will do flexion. For extension, extensor pulses longus, extensor pulses brevis, and for adduction, abductor pulses longus. So as the name suggests, pulses is there, and for the special function, the name of that function is also there. So it is very obvious to understand the name of the muscles itself and their function. These three muscles, especially extension and adductions, make up the anatomical snub box at the base of the thumb where scaphoid fracture can be palpated. This particular triangular area is formed by these three muscles. We have also seen them as the outcropping muscles, and they are going to form the anatomical snub box. So that all for this particular lecture of forearm muscles and their movements. Thank you. Thank you very much.